Hi, welcome back to Give Cheese a Chance, where we encourage you to make cheese at home. In the last two episodes, we learned how to make beginner cheese recipes, ricotta, and quick mozzarella. But today we're kicking it up a notch, and we're going to make a cheese that requires you to wait 3 days before you eat it. Today we're going to make a cheese very similar to the Boursin you can buy at the grocery store. Boursin is soft and spreadable, and it's a little drier than regular cream cheese. It comes in different flavors, like this one is cranberry, this one is herb and garlic, and we're going to be making versions of these flavors as well. And you can also make different flavors at home with various other ingredients. The good thing about the Boursin that we're making today is that it uses whole milk, not cream, so there's less fat. So let's get started making our Boursin type of cheese. Here are the tools we'll be needing. A large pot for our milk, a smaller pot to sterilize our fabric, a ladle, a long spoon, a long knife, a digital thermometer, a small piece of parchment paper, a cheese straining bag, and if you don't have one of these already, you can use a large piece of fabric or an old threadbare pillowcase. You're going to need a strainer. You're also going to need a digital weigh scale because we're going to be measuring small amounts. And finally, a set of small measuring spoons. These ones are very small. They go as low as 1/64 of a teaspoon, so it's good to invest in a set like this if you're going to be making cheese. And here are the ingredients we'll be using to make our Boursin types of cheese. We need 8 liters or 2 gallons of pasteurized homogenized cow's milk, some salt. I love using kosher salt, but you can use table salt. And we need some flavorings. I want to imitate the herb and garlic Boursin I can get in the store, so we're going to be using some dried chives, dried basil, and powdered garlic. As well, we're going to be using some cranberries, some nuts. I've got walnuts here, and since I love smoked salmon, we're going to make a smoked salmon version as well. And I have a bowl of water here to talk about chlorinated versus non-chlorinated water. For cheese making, we always want non-chlorinated water. And that's because if we use water that has chlorine in it, that chlorine will interfere with the growth of the bacteria that is desirable in cheese making. So if you don't have a source of non-chlorinated water, here's how to make it. Just get a bowl, fill it with some tap water from the sink, and let it sit out overnight. All of the chlorine will dissipate and you'll have non-chlorinated water in the morning. The final 3 ingredients that we're going to talk about are ingredients that you probably need to get from a cheese supply store. We're going to need some calcium chloride in order to reintroduce some of the calcium that was lost during the processing of our milk. We're going to need some liquid rennet. And finally, we're going to be putting bacteria into our milk. So don't be worried about that. Most advanced cheeses have bacteria put in them to give great flavor. So this is a mesophilic type 2 bacteria that keeps in your freezer for years. It's freeze dried and we always use very small amounts. So let's get started making our base cheese. Pour your milk into a pot and heat it on medium to low to a target temperature of 30 to 32 degrees Celsius or 86 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, stirring occasionally. While you are waiting for your milk to heat up, measure out your next 3 ingredients. First, dilute 3/8 of a teaspoon or 2 milliliters of calcium chloride into a 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water. Second, using your weigh scale to be accurate and a small piece of parchment paper, measure 2 grams of the mesophilic dry culture. Third, dilute 1/4 teaspoon of liquid rennet into a 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water and stir. Our milk has finally reached the target temperature. It's time to add the 3 ingredients we just measured in this order. Add the calcium chloride first and mix for 30 seconds. Next, sprinkle the powdered bacterial culture onto the surface of the milk. Let it sit there for 2 minutes to rehydrate before you mix it in. Otherwise, it will clump. Then you can add your diluted rennet solution and stir for 1 minute to mix thoroughly. Now for the easy part, put on the lid and walk away. Leave the milk to incubate undisturbed at room temperature for 18 hours. It can even stay as long as 24 hours if that better suits your schedule. It's now 18 hours later, and before we move on to the next step, we have to take our fabric bag and drop it in some boiling water for 15 minutes to sterilize it. So let's take a look at the milk. The milk should have gelled into a thick curd with some liquidy whey around the sides. Using your long knife, cut the curd into 2 centimeter cubes, first by making parallel cuts in one direction, then by cutting again at 90 degrees. Then do your best to make horizontal cuts as well. I know it's not easy, but you don't have to be too accurate for this cheese. This cutting of the curd step quickens the rate at which the whey will drain over the next 2 days. Then, using your ladle, spoon the curd into your sterilized fabric bag that has been set over a strainer in the sink. If you find that the curd has more of a yogurt-like consistency towards the bottom of the pot, don't worry, just keep going. Tie the sack with a string to close it tightly, then let it drain in the strainer for 2 days. Check on it every few hours to readjust the bag, squeeze it a little, and encourage more draining. Fast forward, and here we are 2 days later. We're ready to remove the cheese from the bag. I tried some yesterday after 1 day of draining. It was great, but I like it just a little bit thicker, so I let it drain some more. So let's take it out of the bag and give it some salt. I've divided the cheese into 3 bowls. I'm going to use this bowl to create the herb and garlic cheese that is similar to the Boursin in the store. And to do that, we want a heaping teaspoon of dried basil, a heaping half teaspoon of dried chives, and also 1 full teaspoon of dried garlic. This is garlic powder, but you can use crushed garlic if you like. We're going to mix it in. It smells delicious. I can really smell the garlic. And once it's fully mixed in, we're going to transfer it to a small container that I've lined with saran wrap. And then we're going to unmold it right onto our plate. There we go. We've got some crackers and a delicious party treat to share with your friends. As promised, we're also going to make a smoked salmon version of this cheese. So I have some smoked salmon that's been chopped up. We're going to add it directly to our bowl of cheese here and mix it in. This is so tasty on some toast in the morning with your cup of coffee with some maybe red onion or cucumber. It's delicious, and I just love smoked salmon. I'll take it any day. So after you've mixed it in, just like we did before, we're going to take a mold that's lined with saran wrap. I'm going to scoop it in. Wonderful. And we're going to smooth it down and unmold it on our platter. Here we are. And we're going to serve it with some crackers. Now we're going to make some cheese with the flavors on the outside. So with the rest of the cheese that you have in your bowl, use very clean hands. I've already washed mine. And pick up some cheese. Carefully shape it into a ball and roll it around in some chopped cranberries and chopped walnuts. You can even have your kids help you do this. And now you have 2 new flavors of cheese. If you have any cheese left over, like I do, a great way to store it is to create some balls using the plain cheese with your clean hands and drop them into a mason jar like this. Then cover them with some extra virgin olive oil. Put these in your fridge and they will last for at least 2 months. So there we have it. We're finished making our cheese and we've got 4 different flavors. We have our Boursin type of cheese, the herb and garlic flavor, a smoked salmon version, which I'm going to try right away. And we also have 2 with cranberries and walnuts. So this recipe makes quite a lot, so feel free to share some with your friends. Thank you for joining us on Give Cheese a Chance, and we hope to see you next time. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and channel. We'll see you later.